This episode of Okay, But Did You Know comes with a content warning for discussions surrounding dubious consent. If this is a topic that you don't wish to listen to and want to skip, we completely understand, and we welcome you back in the next episode. Hi, friends. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Katie, and welcome to Okay, But Did You Know? A podcast where we talk about the TV and media that we love with a friend who's never seen it before.
Today we're recapping and chatting about Once Upon a Time, episode 107, The Heart is a Lonely Hunter. This episode aired on December 11th, 2011. It was written by the showrunners Eddie and Adam and was directed by David M. Barrett. And this was actually the last episode before their winter hiatus, so the next episode didn't air until January after this. So a little bit of a synopsis before we get into the chatting. In the Enchanted Forest, the king is dead. In the wake of her husband's passing, Regina's revenge is nearly complete. Now all that's left is to find a way to dispose of Snow White once and for all, without upsetting the kingdom that is still loyal to her. She locates a huntsman to do the job for her. However, she doesn't account for his humanity as he spares Snow White's life, unwittingly giving up his own freedom in return. And in Storybrooke, after a heated kiss with Emma, Graham starts to have odd dreams and flashes of what feel like real memories. He asks around town if anyone can remember small details, such as when they all met, but no one is making any sense until he talks to Henry. Henry believes Graham to be the huntsman from Snow White's story, and when looking for the heart he believes the Evil Queen has taken from him, Graham and Emma encounter an angry Regina, who is still determined to keep her life as it is. When Graham finally rebuffs her advances and leaves her for good, she decides if she can't have him, no one can. I love this episode, just like unequivocally.
I love this episode.
This is such a good episode. Like, we'll get into the stats later, but like this one ranks very highly. There's some things where I'm like, maybe that's not the way things work, but that's the entirety of the show is maybe that's not how things work.
Yeah, I was about to say the entirety of the show is I don't think that works that way, but let's just keep going.
Let's do it anyway. But yeah, this is one that like I have such a deep love for this one. It's the mid-season finale. They pulled out all the stops for this one. So just in general, I'm very positive even in my critiques of said episode.
So I really love this episode. I enjoyed it
glad.
so much. I was sitting here the whole time like, oh wait, I'm supposed to be taking notes. Like that's how much I was into this. I was like, oh shit, I'm supposed to be doing this with it. And it's the first one where you see so much of like everything melding together with the curse and Storybrooke and everything. And I'm like, finally. Yes, I know it's only the first 7 episodes, but finally.
Yeah, right.
Drunk Graham was fun.
Yeah, honestly, we also drunk Sydney just holding up the dollar as he like walks away. He's like, "Wait, take my money, dang it!" Like,
and I just put in all caps. He remembers.
He remembers, and again, the explanation of why Emma's kiss starts to wake him up doesn't make any sense.
Is it like proximity?
Kind of. I mean, she's the savior, right? So in theory, the joke that they made at the Paley Fest, the Paley Center event that they did, was maybe Emma should just open a kissing booth and start kissing people. Like, that was the joke that they made, because that's the only way we saw someone wake up is through that.
Yeah, but then she'd have to kiss Geppetto.
She would have to kiss Geppetto and Granny and just everybody else. So like it's not the best option.
Oh,
I'm sure there's an Emma not to Granny slander. We love Granny here.
No, we love Granny.
We love Granny in this household.
I don't stand Swan Granny, but
no, I don't know what that ship would be called, and I'm not looking that one up.
No, please don't look that up. Oh, no.
I don't think that one exists. But
Murphy's Law.
There's not really a sound explanation. Like Henry says, because there's a strong connection. Like I'm sure there are feelings there. So like the idea is like true love's kiss can break any curse. That'll come up a lot as the show goes on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because why not? But beyond like that, there are bubbling feelings there that to this day, I'll be honest, still feels like it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
With Emma and Graham feelings.
Well,
I don't think I ever saw that.
Wasn't his contract only for the first 7 episodes?
I think that's all he signed on for, yeah.
So could it be they're like, we gotta do something with him?
Possibly. The show is bad at getting rid of characters without killing them off.
That does not give me hope for the future.
No, it doesn't. As the show goes on, characters either just go to the wayside and they don't get proper goodbyes, that you just never see them again, or they kill them off.
Oh,
That's just how the
God.
show ends people's arcs for the most part, which is really unfortunate. But Jamie Dornan I think he did a great job. This isn't the last we see him. He does pop up, but this is the last
Oh,
episode where he is considered main cast.
he's pretty.
He is pretty. He is an Irish actor. I think his accent is Irish-y. I don't think it's like as like it's not like the
It's like a muted Irish.
Yeah, he tones it down a little bit. This is like I said, this is the last episode where he's listed as main cast. But we will see him pop up here and there, and there's also a graphic novelization that I have read that is it's called Shadow of the Queen, and it is set after the events of this episode. They
Oh,
make a line in the next time we see him make more sense, but it did not add a whole lot. I will be honest, it did
okay.
not add a whole lot. And it was more like 4 comic books because it was 4 sets of writers and illustrators. So you get to 4 different like art styles in each chapter, as they called it. But I
Mm-hmm.
really would have preferred if they had listed it as like a compilation of comics, not a graphic novel. That's a personal issue.
Gotcha.
But what people would most likely know Jamie Dornan from, if not Once Upon a Time, is he portrayed Christian Grey in the 50 Shades of Grey movie franchise.
That's who that is?
That's who he is.
Oh, God.
That is Mr. Jamie Dornan.
I don't. Nope.
My apologies.
I'm not a fan of 50 Shades. I've never read the books. I've never watched the movie. Like, I've been a part of that community, and the consensus in most of the community is no.
Yeah, I have never read
So,
the books. I saw the first movie.
oh no, how bad?
Okay, so this is what my friend told me because my friend has actually seen the entire series. She said that the first movie is the worst, but it is also the closest to the book.
Oh,
The others
God.
the others are better because E.L. James was not involved at all, so therefore they could actually make the story make sense.
Such a bad sentence, though. It's like, it's the worst one, but because it's closest to the book.
Yeah.
That's bad. Just from everything I've heard about it, there's the lack of consent. I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah, what other notes do you have for me?
Mr. Gold knows, and he's a sneaky bitch, and what the fuck was he doing in the middle of the night in the woods with a shovel?
I wrote down, what could he be doing in the woods, I wonder? I know exactly what he's doing there. I know exactly why he's out there.
You know everything.
I do know everything. There's a Rumpelstiltskin line in season 2.
Oh no.
When you know the future, there's irony everywhere.
Not the line that I wrote down you were going to recite to me, but close
Oh
enough.
no, well that wasn't even from this I mean that's from next season.
Yeah, I know. I'm just laughing at that too because I did wrote down.
Yeah.
I just know Lauren is going to recite the entire floral abuse scene to me.
Floral abuse.
I knew. I was watching that scene. I'm like, Lauren knows this one. I've heard this before.
You definitely have. Really? Oh, hey, wait, what are you doing? If Graham thinks flowers will work on me, no, those are mine. Oh, from David? No, Dr. Whale. Why would Dr. Whale? Are you serious? I know it's a disaster. No, that's amazing. You're getting over David. First of all, there's nothing to get over, and second of all, it was just a one-night stand. Not according to those flowers. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have called him. Oh my god, you called him? That is definitely not a one-night stand. Okay, I'm still learning. I've never had one before. I felt guilty. Why? There's nothing wrong with what you did. Trust me. One-nighters is as far as I ever go. Okay, that's just because you're... Because I'm what? Never mind. No, tell me. What do I do? You're just protecting yourself. With that wall you put up. Just because I don't get emotional over men, you don't get emotional over men. The floral abuse tells a different story. Okay, so now that I've recited said line, I put a few visual aids in our script for this week. So Katie has not seen them. I would like her to open the one that says "gift that is forever ingrained in Lauren's brain."
Okay. What? What?
It was so hard to search for that GIF. Like, let me just start there. It was so hard to search for that GIF.
I was like,
because
what is that?
It's because it's from that scene when Mary Margaret, when she pauses for a second and just gives Emma a very pointed look. But the fandom uses that for everything. Like, it's the perfect reaction gif, but it was so hard to Google search for that.
I feel judged by Mary Margaret.
She's a little judgy, but so the gif that's on there is the look that Mary Margaret gives Emma when she like says like, why would Dr. Whale, and she gives her a very pointed look with the caption that just says porn. The fandom used to use that all the time. Like, I did have to scour the internet for it, but it was just like
I
with this
probably
episode,
actually have seen this before on Tumblr just in passing in my life.
You probably have.
But I was also on Tumblr during the Supernatural and Doctor Who craze, so who knows?
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
There was a lot going on in that time. Anybody that remembers Doctor Who and Supernatural Tumblr knows what I mean.
It's a super Hulock era.
Thank you. God, I forgot about Sherlock. My God, that had a chokehold on people.
Mm-hmm.
I did write that black does suit Regina. It suits her.
Her name is always Regina. That's one thing. Her name does not change. But yes, black does suit her. This one in the Enchanted Forest, we see the after effects. So this is really the beginning of like the Snow White story. Like as we see it, most versions is after the king is dead. This is what happens. So we're seeing that immediate aftermath, and then Regina just deciding black's her color, and she will say that again later on. You know, didn't anyone tell you black is my color?
And I relate to Regina because black is my color.
Black's a good color on her, I will say. The costumes in this one were like spot on.
Mm-hmm.
The outfit she's wearing in the funeral is just perfectly ostentatious for a funeral. It's like, it's black. It's funeral attire, but you have like that giant neck with all of the jewels and everything on it. Mm-hmm. And then you have the red velvet dress that she wears midway through the episode, which is iconic. And we see a similar dress. It's like not the same. Actually, it might be the same. I'm not sure, but in blue. We'll see that later on as well. And then we have the outfit again at the end, which is very similar. I think it's black with a little bit of red going on. So like, it's just like the costume designing on this show is just perfection.
Yeah. I've really enjoyed the costumes.
Yeah. But the funeral scene is one that like, there's not really, it's not a fandom memory. There's just every once in a while there will be behind the scenes photos that are just ingrained in my brain because I saw them and it's just funny. So I did put one in our script.
What the hell?
So it's a green screen photo. It's a photo of them on the green stage because all of the Enchanted Forest stuff is all green stage. Or in the case of when they will eventually bring on the Wicked Witch of the West, they needed a blue stage because she was green, so she would have.
I was about to say like that wouldn't have worked with her.
Yeah, she would just dissolved into the background. So a lot of it's filmed on green stages. And it's something about this photo because it's like he's giving direction and clearly they're working out whatever blocking they're working on. But it's the director talking to Lana and Ginnifer Goodwin about some framing of something in the scene, and it's just they're just hugging the whole time.
It's like they don't let go of each other.
The two of them like each other, so
could anybody not like Ginnifer Goodwin?
Exactly. Well, my note was literally, yeah, Ginny, I'd hang on to Lana too.
Good point. That is also very valid. And
it's the same.
Agree. Because I'm sitting here like, Ginnifer Goodwin's such a sweet person. No one could not like her. And then it's like, yeah, well, you know, the other person in the situation.
I mean, also.
I think we all want to hug her.
Just hugs all around.
Hugs all around.
But yes, that's like the little fandom situation. And, you know, like, sometimes there's just these photos that just refuse to like leave my memory. They're like core memories from my fandom times, and
I'm loving our use of visual aids now.
Yeah, it's a good time.
It's a very good time.
It's good. I don't think we'll be able to post the GIF. That I don't think that's something that can go on socials, but I will post the behind the scenes photo that we're referencing on socials and possibly somewhere else.
So I have in all caps, what is in the letter?
Oh, we did get the letter.
Yeah, I know. But at that point in time, I was like, what's in it? And then whenever they started fighting, I just put fight, fight, fight. Like kids chanting like they do.
Yes.
Because I loved that.
That fight scene was epic. And apparently Jennifer Morrison injured herself.
How?
Because they had to film that so many times to get all the different angles. So there's a bunch of different angles in that scene, right?
A lot of angles.
And I'm gonna guess, unless they're like the physical fighting aspect of it, it probably wasn't their stunt doubles. But
Mm-hmm.
apparently, according to the fandom wiki, which is where I got this from, she pulled a muscle in her shoulder due to how many takes they needed to do for different angles because it was so cold. Like, if this aired in December, they probably filmed it in October.
Oof. And that's way up north. It's not like down here where we have 70-degree weather in December.
No, definitely not. Like, once we get further on into the show, there are behind the scenes photos of them with like between takes just bundling up into things. They'd have like those little hand warmer things. They'd put them
Mm-hmm.
all over the place just to kind of keep themselves warm. It's very cold up in Vancouver.
Oh, well, yeah.
It is very, very cold.
I can only imagine. And then I only had one other note, and that was me putting it in caps saying, I fucking knew it.
You knew it, so let's talk about it. The curse
I
is
knew it.
real.
Curse is real, and Regina killed Graham, and I'm not okay. That death,
She
though.
did. It's, well, if she can't have him, nobody can. So there's that. But I do actually want to talk about that relationship and what we
Mm-hmm.
see with it. There's a couple of talking points to go in here. Mostly we'll just we can't ignore the dubious consent that is involved in that relationship.
Yeah, because all I could think when you said that just a moment ago was sharing is caring, but not everyone lives by that sentiment.
Not everyone lives by that sentiment, but there with the relationship with Regina and Graham, let's stick with that. I mean, he's under the curse for that time, so really you could surmise nothing anyone is doing is, with consent because no one knows who they really are. But specifically the Graham Regina relationship has a lot to do with the heart. She rips his heart out of his chest when he doesn't give her Snow's heart,
Mm-hmm.
and she says, now you're mine, my pet, and this is your cage. And if you ever disobey me, if you ever try to run away, all I have to do is squeeze. So that's like
Mm,
she's controlling him. We'll see more about how the hearts can be used. The
okay.
magic heart is gonna show up all the time.
Yeah, because it's like did it just like feed over into Storybrooke that she
Yep.
had them and was able to use them, but they still work the
Yes.
same?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Basically, like she doesn't have to like physically hold it, and I mean she can physically hold it and like literally speak a command into it, but just by the notion that she possesses it, she is in control of him. This is not a healthy situation. Obviously, at the end, she says, "Bring him to my bedchamber." So, like, we
Yep.
we know what she's doing with that. This is not a plot point that I think the writers should have done. I'll be quite honest. I don't agree with this take.
Yeah, it made me feel icky.
It's not great. And we don't condone this. I don't personally find this. I never shipped that to begin with anyway. Like I'm like, okay, it's hot. I get it. But then when you see the context of it, I'm like,
The context is actually
nope.
what kept me from being like, "Oh, this is attractive or fun."
Mm-hmm.
Like the context.
Yeah.
As soon as I knew the context, I was like, no, no, thank you."
Yeah.
I couldn't. But also like thinking about how he kept going on and on that he couldn't feel anything, yet he was having such
Yeah.
intense emotions was really confusing as well.
That's the thing with the hearts. The more of it we see, the more they tend to add on some bits of world building because obviously there's still a beating organ in his chest moving the blood throughout his body.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is that the magic transforms the heart and you pull out the entity that is kind of like your heart center, not like almost kind of like the chakra
Okay.
kind of situation. Not like the physical organ. Obviously, he's still living.
Like your soul.
Your soul, exactly. So the idea that the one who does not have a heart in their body can't feel things, it's to a point and it's to how much you let yourself feel. We'll see other characters that do not want to feel a thing, so they don't. And there's others who, when they have their hearts out of their body, they feel things so deeply that they can still feel them, but not to the fullest effects.
This sounds like my mental illness. That's all I'm gonna say. And I relate a little too much.
But it's that kind of thing. It's you can feel to what you want to feel at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how the art. This is one thing that I will say: they drop little bits of world building as the show goes on, and they do it at the right moments.
Okay.
So I will give them that.
Now, they should not have written the consent the way they did.
They should not have done that. No, I do not think that that was appropriate. Shouldn't have been added in at all. Because you could have just like left it as he's now one of her guards.
Yeah. Like, she
Like
has control over him, but maybe not that kind of control.
writing him as the, as the Saturday morning council meeting guy, that could just be an after effect of the curse. You didn't need to make that because she also had his heart.
Yeah. They could have just literally left out the line, take him to my bedchamber.
Honestly, yeah.
And it would have been fine.
And the kiss.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot about the kiss.
Yeah. But back to your point about the letter, I don't have this memorized, but I do want to read it because it does play into my point.
Okay.
I pulled up the transcript because you can find transcripts for every episode.
Yeah.
Dear stepmother, by the time you read this, I will be dead. I understand that you will never have love in your life because of me, so it's only fitting that I'll be denied that same joy as well. For the sake of the kingdom, I hope my death satisfies your need for revenge, allowing you to rule my father's subjects as they deserve, with compassion and a gentle hand. I know what you think you're doing is vengeance. I prefer to think of it as sacrifice for the good of all. With that in mind, I welcome the end. I want you to take my last message to heart. I'm sorry, and I forgive you. So again, with what happened, we get another little nugget of it in this.
Barely.
Barely. Well, because here's the thing is, again, what I said back in Snow Falls. Snow knows that her involvement in Regina's life caused her unhappiness and the loss of love, but she doesn't know exactly what she did or what happened.
It's so confusing, and I just want to know.
You will know in, I have to do the math real quick, 11 episodes.
So 2024.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. But I do love Emma and Mary Margaret's relationship. I mean, in general, but especially in this episode. I mean, the floral abuse scene is just funny.
Wonderful. But, and then I can't wait to later see when they have to revisit that conversation when it's like, oh shit, you really are my mother. Because I don't think I would ever want to discuss my mother's one-night stands if she were to have them. No, thank you.
No, I don't think we need to know these things.
Nope.
But that scene is just, it's such a good moment for the two of them and their friendship. And then you just have like I wrote down, that's not a wall, pulls flowers out of the trash. Just that whole scene. And like Mary Margaret in this episode is kind of almost like a voice of reason for everybody. Like I do get, obviously Graham is correct that the curse is real and that he is cursed and he is actually somebody else. But she's very calm, she's very, she's very patient with him. She's like, she just kind of, and we also kind of get another one of those world building things of like everyone's memory only goes back as far as everything is as far back as they can remember. There's no real clarity on that.
It's all fuzzy.
Yeah, it's all a little bit fuzzy. It's a little bit hazy.
Okay, but seriously, what the hell was Mr. Gold doing with the shovel?
I cannot tell you that yet.
I'm dying over here. I'm just like,
I'm sorry.
The creepy man came out of the woods with a shovel. I need context.
I know. Well, that line, though, of when he said he was looking for a wolf in his line of, wolf, did I forget to shave? But he said there are no wolves in Storybrooke. I looked it up. Apparently, according to the International Wolf Center website, there are no established wolf populations in the state of Maine. So there would not be wolves in Storybrooke.
Oh, okay. So they mess up on other things, but they got this right.
The things that I learned while Googling about the state of Maine, I'll be quite honest, it's pretty funny.
It's just very funny that the things that they do really well, they do really well. And then the ones they don't do so good, you're just like, why? You do all of this so good.
I know. And then they don't focus on, like, how civil service works.
They don't know how anything works. Like...
No.
Has any of them been to therapy?
No. Probably not. But I did like that this was the episode, like I said, going back to like we're bringing it back and kind of like to the Snow White fairy tale. This is honestly, I think, the most screen time Regina's had in an episode since episode 2.
Oh, which wow.
I mean, this is just like a colloquial. It seems like there's more of her now because she was involved in both the fairy tale and the Storybrooke arc for this one. But like this is one of those things again where I'm watching this arc specifically in a way that I never have before, because when I'm binging the episodes, I'm not noticing that Regina isn't in a whole lot. But this show is very much an ensemble show, with the exception of maybe Emma, who's probably in the most of every episode in general. there's just, if your favorite character isn't one of the main characters, you're not seeing them a whole lot, because there's a lot of people in this show for them to give screen time to.
Oh yeah.
And like I would love to say as the show goes on they get better at balancing that, but honestly season 2 is very similar in that like there's some episodes like Regina has one scene and then walks out of frame and that's all we see of her. So as the show goes on, they get better at balancing it, I would say, by season 3.
Okay.
They kind of have, because at that point their core group of people don't spend time separated.
Oh, okay.
Like when they finally establish their like official 5-man band of main characters, it takes a little while for them to kind of gather the band of people. By then they do a little bit of a better job of balancing things, but in the first couple seasons everyone's stories are interwoven but separate. So some episodes are going to focus on one person more so than somebody else.
So I'm really loving that as we move further along, you have this situation where everybody keeps going to the child to figure out what's going on. And it's all like, oh, Henry, yes, Henry. And I'm just like, y'all are adults.
Well, like Graham said, he's the only, like, well, Emma says to Graham, you went to a 10-year-old for advice. Well, he's the only one making any sense. Like,
it's hilarious.
Dude, it is.
Because as a parent to a 9-year-old, no thank you. I would not believe a 9-year-old like that.
Definitely not. Especially the kid that just blatantly continues to ignore his mother's very normal, like, requests that he stay inside and do his homework on a Saturday.
Yeah, I'm with him on that one, but she was also canoodling on a Saturday, so.
Well, yeah, but we ignore that part.
Do we, though?
I was clocking a lot of. She was pretty sassy in this one. I'll give her that, Regina. She had a lot of really good moments. I wrote down this episode has a lot of my favorite lines, floral abuse notwithstanding, as I've already bestowed that upon you. But she's looking for someone to kill Snow White, because the idea is that anything that she would do hands on would be taken back to her. So I need someone bereft of mercy. And then Sydney, the mirror, goes, you need a huntsman. And then I wrote down, you end up with the most merciful humanitarian huntsman. Oops.
Right?
Like, you did not find someone bereft of mercy.
But the way she says murder, I was like, wait a minute. Do that again. Let me rewind that, because the way she said murder, I'm just like, wait a minute. Why is this funny? One more time.
Well, we really had the evil queen voice coming out, because the evil queen voice versus the Regina Mills voice is different. There's even like a young Regina voice and even an intermediary kind of like young queen voice. Lana's very good at pitching her voice as needed. So like, I just love when we get to hear certain like aspects of her voice. I'm like,
I love that, because I know someone else who's really good at that.
Yeah, because like she sounds different in the very first scene when she says to Snow, like, I'm here for you, dear, truly and forever. That's not the same voice that she uses when she says, does she know that I'm responsible for his passing? That's an entirely different voice.
Yeah. So
I really appreciate that. And then again, towards the middle of the episode, when Emma is throwing the darts at the dartboard, we have, our tax dollars hard at work, I see. It's like, ma'am, please calm down.
She's not going to. She's too strong. She's too high strung. And now she's lost her relaxation.
She has lost her source of relaxation. I will counter again. Trespassing on someone's mausoleum, probably not the smartest idea.
Well, when that said person also has a wall of hearts below the mausoleum, I get it.
But they don't know that.
They were looking for it.
He was looking in an urn. I wrote down, dude, don't fucking open the urn. He was like picking up urns and like, I mean, luckily no one tried to move the casket, but like, maybe we don't trespass. Maybe you try and find a door on the outside that isn't into where the dead bodies are.
Yeah, that's fair. I have a little urn in my house. It's my father-in-law.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you going to open it and try and find the secrets
No,
inside?
it's sealed tight. Urns are sealed tight. No. You know what's... Okay, my husband will not be mad at me for this joke. He would make this joke himself. But guess what? We called my father-in-law before, like, his actual name.
What?
His name's Dusty.
Oh.
And he was cremated.
Mm-hmm.
Dusty would make this joke, so please don't think I'm being crass. This man was the most inappropriate, like dad joke of them all person. He would be laughing right now if I was telling these jokes. That's just who he was. But you say Ern, and I'm like, I have one. And I'm like, wait a minute. Don't say that. I just need everyone to understand I am not being inappropriate when it comes to my father-in-law. He would make these jokes himself, and I miss him dearly.
Yeah.
And also but that's how I know urns are sealed tight. Like, you can't just open an urn.
That's good. That's good to know. I love that we're learning so much about, I get mortuary science. Is that the phrasing?
I feel like I'm talking, like, I know more than I should. Last week I told you that coffins are comfortable. This week I'm telling you that most urns are sealed. How do I know these things? And it's actually, I didn't learn them. It's from experience. I know more than I should.
I do want to talk a little bit about that fight scene. I know we did talk about it a little bit earlier with Jen pulling a muscle. Because again, logically, like, you know, Emma going, what are you doing here? Bringing flowers to my father's grave like I do every Wednesday. Like, yes, if you looked to your left, you'd see the plaque that says Henry Mills on it. So, like, not unreasonable. But honestly, Regina throwing the first punch is justified. Like, she's provoked. Like, maybe violence isn't the answer, but there was a lot of provocation.
There was, but it also feels really weird with the situation she's put Graham in, because it's not a relationship.
It's not, but again, she cares about him in some way, shape, or form, and she's just, it's not even, but at that point, it's not even about Graham. Emma brings in Henry.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
She says, Graham picked me, Henry came and got me, so maybe you should ask yourself, Madam Mayor, why everyone's running away from you. Bringing Henry in, that was a low blow.
That was a low blow. I can be with that one.
With that one.
As a mother, yeah, I'd probably throw the punch too. You don't bring my kid into situations.
No. So I don't fault her for being extra upset, and I did write down towards the end, baby Gina, don't cry, when Graham starts breaking up with her, because, like, again, we don't condone so many of her actions, but I mean, also, I know far too much, but she's my favorite character, so, like, I don't want to see her cry.
That's fair. I'm still leaning into who actually is ending up my favorite. I haven't fully been like, this is my favorite. I'm only 7 episodes in. I don't have a favorite yet.
Yeah, I feel like, especially with the watching it 1 week at a time, it's almost harder to latch onto someone so quickly.
No, when I binge watch something, I latch on instantly.
Oh, yeah. Because you get all the information, like, in super quick succession. Like I said, like, it didn't really occur to me that Regina isn't really in that many, like, scenes in the episodes that don't focus on her.
Yeah, because when you're binging, it's tons of it.
Yeah, I'm used to watching, like I said, the first episode, I binged the first 17 episodes. So, like, in, like, 5 days. What else was I doing? It was spring break.
Okay, that's fair.
I was 16. What was I doing?
Let's not talk about what I was doing at 16. Bad idea. This was actually a really high-rated episode. This is the highest-rated episode for me so far.
Oh, wow.
I gave it 9 for character and 9 for personal. I really did enjoy this. Because, of course, most of the time I'm sitting here like, I fucking knew it. And then I gave plot 10 because this was honestly the most fun I've had watching this show so far. So it has a 28.
Oh, I love that. So I gave this one a 25, which is high for me.
Oh, okay, it's fair.
25 is, I mean, I give things between like 23s and 28s anyway.
Yeah.
But so I gave it a 9 for personal. I really enjoy it. I also gave it a 9 for plot because it's very plot heavy. There's a whole lot of it. I did give it a 7 for character only because I know the timeline of how things work. Regina being this evil here, there's other scenes that happen that just make her going right into Evil Queen after the funeral. Like, I know this is what we have, but it's just, I know what happens. I know how this is off given the entire timeline of her character arc in the Enchanted Forest. It's a little much, a little fast, which is why it got a 7 for character.
Okay.
And also, I did knock it down just because of the consent issue, because it's just not.
No, that's fair.
I've always had a hard time with it, and that's one thing that, like, people a lot of times in the fandom will say no one should ever like Regina because of this, and I'm like, if we were going to use that kind of moral high ground for any characters on the show, like not for this specific issue, but just for doing something that, you know, in real world polite society would be deemed unforgivable. You should be doing that with every single character on the show. Everyone does something that outside of a fantasy show would be deemed unforgivable.
Well, and it felt different. Like, yeah, Evil Queen was like, take him to my bedchamber, but it did seem a lot more real for Regina. Like, there
Mm-hmm.
were more
Yeah.
emotions along with it. It didn't seem like Regina was forcefully making Graham do that.
No.
But I mean, Evil Queen flat out said it. So,
Yeah.
well, I get, and I'm not saying like, oh, they're two different people, but they are two different people in a sense, from what I'm getting, because of the curse.
Yeah, think about it. Like, if the curse is real, we can now say this. The curse is real. Regina knows. We can
The
now
curse is real, and I was right.
we can just openly. Katie's been right. I told you almost all of your theories you've asked me about. An answer is forthcoming.
Does that make this? Does that just make me too like? Is it too predictable, or am I just good at this?
I think you're just good at this. I think
Okay.
you're good at this, but also there are some things where like, this is the natural way things would go.
Yeah. I mean, they're fairy tales.
Yeah, they're fairy tales. Like this, like so. If we're thinking this is 30 years, like Regina's had 30 years more. Honestly, even more so because where I think we are on the timeline for the Hunter's Lonely Hunter, there's still quite a few years until the curse gets cast. We're talking like probably 40 years or so, something like that, if you include the timeline of the curse.
Wow.
Yeah, because I've worked at the timeline. I've had to build in like spans of time for things to
There you go.
happen.
I just need a
Um,
visual for
oh, I have one. It makes no sense to anyone but me.
how am I not surprised?
I had to make one when I made my timeline. Originally, I did it in a visual, and then I turned it into a spreadsheet. That's the only way. That's the only way that made any sense to me.
If anybody needed to know what Lauren is truly like, that sentence alone fully just describes her.
Pretty much. Like I always say with the show, there is some continuity stuff that sometimes just isn't always there. The ones that are most glaring to me are if you look very closely in the fight scene. Regina's the bloody lip. It's not always there.
Yes.
Not always there. They did. There some takes they had it. Some takes they didn't. Very briefly, when we see Emma, I think she's doing something. Her flower tattoo is not there,
Oh.
which I think is why I never clocked it like this early on because it's not always there. I think the first time I clocked it was when they very specifically show it to us in an episode in season 2. So like I never clocked it at the very beginning. And lastly, this isn't necessarily a visual, it's more of a this thing just got left on the back burner and never dealt with. When Graham lets Snow go, he makes a whistle out of a reed. He tells her
Yes.
to, sound this and help will come find you. That was supposed to be a thing. We were supposed to see what happens there.
Mm-hmm.
We never do.
Are you serious?
We never see that. The next time we see Snow White, I think the next time we see Snow White in the timeline will be in episode 1, like the next point in her timeline will be episode 115. So that's the 15th episode of this season is the next time
Wow.
we'll see other stuff like from other points of her timeline, but like the next
Yeah.
bit of Snow White's timeline from this point is then and it's the whistle is no longer a thing. She's now seeking help from somebody else and we see what happens next. So
All right.
sometimes
then.
stuff just gets left on the back burner and that's okay. And like not everything happens. It's a small detail. And it's like, unless I pointed it out, I don't think anyone would really have noticed, oh no, we didn't do anything with the whistle. It wasn't necessary. But when it comes to story structure, I think you're good at this, but also there are some ways that like there's only so many directions that these stories can go.
Yes.
So you're good at picking up on the most likely one, which is what the writers went with, which is perfectly normal.
I've also been reading for a very long time, so I'm used to stories.
Exactly. The more you read, the more you get used to story structure. Almost everything feels predictable at that point. So like it's not a fault of the show, and it's a good thing. That means that you're keen to how the story arcs go.
Like I genuinely really enjoy when a book or a story does surprise me because usually I've picked it up before the first third of the book. So,
well, like Emily and I were playing Stray Gods this weekend. We got that. We downloaded that. It's a role playing game that's Greek mythology and musicals, and it's a really cool story.
What?
It's really really cool.
Send me the link.
Will do.
Okay.
The plot of it is that the last muse was killed, and she passed on the part of her that makes her immortal to your main character, and you have to figure out who did it. I would say probably about halfway through the story, I figured out who it was, but I just didn't know how or why.
Okay,
So
makes
I
sense.
figured out the murderer, but not not the motive.
Mm-hmm.
So like there was some surprise there, but I'm like, it's got to be this person. There's no other way. So
See, that's why like my favorite board game's Clue. Like, give it like I
mm-hmm.
love this type of stuff, figuring things
Yeah.
out. I ruin movies for people.
No, me too.
I do. Not purposely. Like, I don't do it
No,
in the
I know.
middle of the movie, but it'll be like the end of the movie, and they're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe!" And I was like, "Y'all, I had it figured out in the first 30 minutes."
Yeah, I'm not that much fun to watch TV with. My minor side tangent. When when the 100 was on, I would go over to my friend's
I
house
still
and
have not finished that one.
it's okay. I would go over to my friend's house and we'd watch it together. And usually before the 100 was Flash. That's what was playing before it. We'd never actually watched any of the Flash, but we would see the 30 seconds that would play before the end of the hour.
Yeah.
So we were watching one. I don't remember what season this was, but we're watching what appeared to be the season finale of the Flash, and this person barges in, and she looks vaguely like the two main characters. So I jokingly said, "I'm your daughter from the future." 5 seconds before what came out of her mouth was, "I'm your daughter from the future."
What's so funny about that though is I just watched the new Flash movie with Steven.
Mm-hmm.
I did it because I love him, and we did not
Mm-hmm.
pay any money to watch it. I just want to make that very clear. We have, a friend has offered their HBO Max login for us, so of course I'm
Nice.
gonna say yes to that. And
Very
we
nice.
don't pay for that, and so we watched it by not putting our money towards anything, which was my stipulation. I was like, "Can we pirate it? If you really want to watch it, I'll pirate it." Like when it comes to Ezra Miller, I don't play,
That's fair.
and that was the entire premise, was time travel, and I just sat there the whole time. Like, I looked at my husband and I'm like, "I just told you the tangent I went on with Lauren about time travel." And he's like, "I know." And I'm like, "I'm going to do it again." And he's like, "Oh, I know." And that was half of the movie for me. Thank you all for listening. Join us next time when we discuss Bob's Burgers Season 1, Episode 13, Torpedo. Don't forget to like, rate, and follow the podcast wherever you listen so you can be notified every time we publish a new episode. And follow us at OBDYK_pod on Instagram and TikTok.
This has been an episode of Okay, But Did You Know? A TV and media podcast. It was hosted by Lauren and Katie and edited by Lauren.